Good morning, and welcome to our lecture on establishing trust and building relationships in Canadian negotiations, a cornerstone of effective collaboration in our diverse nation. Canada's multicultural society, with 22% visible minorities and significant Indigenous populations, alongside its federal structure, creates a unique negotiation landscape where trust is essential for bridging cultural and political divides. Today, we'll explore cognitive and effective trust-building strategies, applying them to case studies like the Great Lakes pollution dispute and Canada post-labor negotiations. Our goal is to equip you with skills to foster trust in government, business, and community settings, ensuring equitable outcomes that align with Canada's inclusive ethos. Trust enables open communication, reduces conflicts, and strengthens long-term relationships, as seen in interprovincial trade agreements like the 2017 Canadian Free Trade Agreement. We'll examine trust types, deterrence-based, knowledge-based, and identification-based, and their application in Indigenous and multicultural contexts. For instance, the 2019 Wet'suwet'en pipeline talks highlight cultural respect's role in trust building. By the end, you'll understand how to navigate Canada's complex stakeholder dynamics, fostering collaboration and mutual respect in diverse settings, from Toronto's tech hubs to northern Indigenous communities. Let's begin by exploring trust's role in enabling successful negotiations across Canada's diverse landscape. Let's start by examining trust's pivotal role in Canadian negotiations, where cultural diversity and collaborative governance are central. Trust enables open communication, allowing parties to share critical information without fear of exploitation, as seen in the 2016 Canada-European Union Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, where transparent dialogue on tariff reductions built mutual confidence, benefiting Canadian exporters in agriculture and manufacturing, per Thomson, 2020. Trust fosters collaborative problem-solving, reducing conflicts, as demonstrated in the 2019 Wet'suwet'en pipeline negotiations in British Columbia, where respectful engagement with Indigenous communities led to constructive outcomes. Long-term relationships, essential in Canada's interconnected economy, are strengthened through trust, evident in the 2017 Canadian Free Trade Agreement, which harmonized regulations across provinces through predictable cooperation. In Canada's multicultural society, with 20% foreign-born residents, trust bridges cultural gaps, ensuring respect in negotiations involving diverse groups, from Toronto's tech sector to rural Indigenous communities. Cognitive strategies, like shared goals, and effective strategies, like empathetic dialogue, align with Canada's inclusive ethos, fostering fairness. For students, consider a negotiation in Vancouver's business hub. Trust ensures equitable outcomes by aligning diverse stakeholders. As we move forward, we'll explore types of trust and their applications, focusing on how they shape Canada's unique negotiation contexts, particularly in fostering long-term collaboration. Building on trust's role, let's explore its types in Canadian negotiations: deterrence-based, knowledge-based, and identification-based, each suited to specific contexts. Deterrence-based trust, reliant on monitoring compliance, is common in resource sector contracts, like Alberta's oil and gas agreements, where legal oversight ensures adherence, per Gelfand et al., 2006. However, this approach can provoke resistance, as reactance theory suggests people resist perceived control, making it less ideal for long-term relationships. Knowledge-based trust, grounded in predictable behavior, thrives in Canada's stable institutional frameworks, like the 2017 Canadian Free Trade Agreement, where provinces trusted consistent trade practices. Identification-based trust, rooted in shared values and empathy, is critical in Indigenous negotiations, such as the 2019 British Columbia land claims, where cultural respect fostered mutual understanding. Canada's reliable legal and economic systems prioritize knowledge-based trust, ensuring predictability in interprovincial and business negotiations. For students, selecting the right trust type is key. In a Toronto corporate deal, knowledge-based trust ensures reliability, while indigenous negotiations require identification-based trust to honor cultural values. Combining these approaches enhances collaboration in multicultural settings. As we transition, we'll examine cognitive trust-building strategies, exploring how they align with Canada's collaborative culture to foster equitable and sustainable negotiation outcomes. Continuing our discussion, let's explore cognitive trust-building strategies, which rely on rational approaches to foster collaboration in Canada's negotiation landscape. Focusing conflict on tasks, as seen in the 2019 British Columbia Indigenous Land Negotiations, redirects disputes to shared objectives like sustainable resource management, reducing personal tensions, per Thompson, 2020. Aligning on shared goals, such as economic growth in the 2020 Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, unites parties around common interests, fostering confidence. Using social network connections, like industry associations in Toronto's tech sector, leverages relationships to enhance trust. Addressing common challenges, such as environmental sustainability in interprovincial talks, creates a collaborative mindset, while emphasizing future opportunities, like trade benefits, motivates trust investment. These strategies align with Canada's cooperative culture, rooted in multiculturalism and fairness, ensuring equitable outcomes. For students, applying these strategies is critical. Consider a negotiation in Alberta's oil sector, focusing on shared environmental goals builds trust, while leveraging networks ensures reliability. Canada's commitment to inclusivity, seen in the Multiculturalism Act, amplifies these strategies' effectiveness. As we transition, we'll examine a Great Lakes pollution dispute, applying trust-building concepts to a real-world Canadian case, highlighting collaboration and transparency in environmental negotiations. Let's apply our trust-building concepts to the 2018 Great Lakes pollution dispute, exemplifying collaboration in Canada's environmental negotiations. The issue involved pollution threatening the Great Lakes ecosystem, critical for water quality and biodiversity, with Canadian and U.S. stakeholders, governments, NGOs, and industries, facing competing priorities. Multi-stakeholder talks employed cognitive strategies, like aligning on clean water access goals, and effective strategies, like joint site visits fostering empathy, per Gelfand et al., 2006. Transparent communication, including shared scientific data, built trust, while industry's emissions reductions responded to NGO demands, fostering respect. The outcome was an agreement implementing sustainable practices, like stricter regulations, reducing pollution and enhancing ecosystem health. Challenges included initial mistrust due to economic tensions, but Canada's environmental stewardship ethos facilitated success. For students, this case highlights trust's role in balancing interests. Consider a similar negotiation in Ontario, aligning on environmental goals ensures equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's sustainability commitment. Trust via transparency and empathy aligns with the Multiculturalism Act's inclusivity. As we transition, we'll explore a Canada post-Labour dispute, examining how mediation and trust-building resolved a deadlock, ensuring stability in Canada's diverse workforce. Following our environmental case, let's examine the 2016 Canada post-Labour dispute, highlighting trust's role in resolving deadlocks in Canada's public sector. The issue centered on a contract dispute between management and unionized workers, with disagreements over wages and conditions threatening service disruptions, per Thompson, 2020. Mediation, facilitated by a neutral third party, focused on trust building through cognitive strategies, like clarifying service continuity goals, and effective strategies, like empathetic dialogue addressing worker concerns. Transparent budget discussions rebuilt trust, with management offering improved benefits and unions conceding on scheduling. The outcome was an agreement ensuring labor stability, preventing a strike and benefiting both sides. Challenges included historical mistrust, but Canada's collaborative labor ethos, supported by labor laws, facilitated success. For students, this case underscores mediation's power in trust building. Consider a similar labor negotiation in Alberta's education sector. Transparent dialogue and empathy ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's fairness commitment. Trust restoration strengthened long-term relations, reducing conflict risks. As we move forward, we'll explore a healthcare funding dispute, examining how trust and collaboration shaped interprovincial negotiations, ensuring equitable healthcare access across Canada. Continuing with real-world applications, let's examine the 2017 healthcare funding disputes between Canadian provinces and the federal government, highlighting trust's role in intergovernmental negotiations. The issue involved disagreements over funding allocations and national standards, critical for equitable healthcare delivery, especially in rural and indigenous communities, per Peivand et al., 2006. Collaborative interprovincial talks, facilitated by the federal government, used cognitive strategies, like agreeing on universal access goals, and effective strategies, like empathetic dialogue addressing regional needs, such as mental health services. Transparent budget discussions, including clear funding proposals, built trust, with provinces agreeing to standardized reporting for increased funds. The outcome was an agreement ensuring equitable healthcare access, with enhanced funding and national standards improving consistency. Challenges included jurisdictional tensions, but Canada's collaborative governance ethos, rooted in the Canada Health Act, ensured success. For students, this case illustrates trust's importance in balancing regional interests. Consider a similar negotiation in British Columbia. Transparency and empathy ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's universal care commitment. As we transition, we'll explore effective trust-building strategies, examining how empathy and rapport enhance negotiations in Canada's diverse landscape. Following our case studies, let's explore effective trust-building strategies, which focus on emotional connections to foster collaboration in Canadian negotiations. Building rapport through empathy, such as understanding community concerns in Indigenous land talks, creates trust, as seen in the 2019 Wet'suwet'en negotiations, per Peivand et al., 2006. Acknowledging cultural values, like respecting Indigenous treaty rights, ensures meaningful engagement. Fostering personal connections, such as through joint community events in multicultural settings, strengthens relationships, as in Toronto's diverse business negotiations. Active listening, like addressing worker concerns in the Canada Post dispute, builds mutual understanding, while encouraging mutual respect aligns with Canada's inclusive ethos. These strategies are critical in Canada's multicultural society, with 22% visible minorities, where emotional bonds bridge cultural divides. For students, applying effective strategies is essential. Consider a negotiation in Vancouver's tech sector. Empathetic dialogue with diverse stakeholders ensures equitable outcomes, reflecting the Multiculturalism Act's inclusivity. Challenges include overcoming cultural misunderstandings, but Canada's emphasis on respect facilitates success. As we move forward, we'll examine trust in Indigenous negotiations, exploring how effective and cognitive strategies combine to foster reconciliation and sustainable agreements. Building on effective strategies, let's examine trust in Indigenous negotiations, a critical aspect of Canada's negotiation landscape, per Thompson, 2020. Respecting treaty rights, as in the 2019 British Columbia land claims, establishes trust by honoring legal and cultural obligations. Incorporating cultural protocols, like ceremonial openings and talks with First Nations, fosters respect and understanding. Building long-term partnerships, such as through ongoing consultation in resource projects, ensures sustainable outcomes, as seen in Alberta's oil sector. Ensuring equitable resource sharing, like revenue agreements with Indigenous communities, aligns with Canada's reconciliation goals. Fostering reconciliation, a national priority under the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, requires trust to address historical injustices. Canada's multicultural ethos, with significant Indigenous populations, demands these strategies to bridge divides. For students, mastering Indigenous negotiations is key. Consider a mining negotiation in Northern Ontario. Respecting cultural protocols and equitable sharing build trust, reflecting Canada's commitment to reconciliation. Challenges include historical mistrust, but transparent and empathetic dialogue ensures progress. As we transition, we'll explore trust in business negotiations, examining how these principles apply to Canada's economic sectors. Following Indigenous negotiations, let's explore trust in Canadian business negotiations, particularly in vibrant hubs like Toronto and Vancouver. Ensuring transparency in deals, such as clear contract terms in tech partnerships, builds trust, as seen in collaborations between Canadian and international firms, per Thomson, 2020. Fostering collaborative partnerships, like joint ventures in the clean energy sector, drives innovation and economic growth. Aligning on mutual economic goals, such as job creation in the 2020 Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, unites parties. Leveraging industry networks, like tech associations in Ontario, enhances trust through shared connections. Building long-term trust ensures sustainable business relationships, critical in Canada's interconnected economy. With 20% foreign-born residents, Canada's business landscape requires cultural sensitivity to foster trust across diverse stakeholders. For students, mastering business negotiations is essential. Consider a startup deal in Vancouver. Transparency and collaborative goals ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's cooperative ethos. Challenges include competitive pressures, but leveraging networks mitigates risks. As we move forward, we'll examine trust in interprovincial negotiations, exploring how trust drives collaboration across Canada's federal system. Continuing our exploration, let's examine trust in interprovincial negotiations, a key aspect of Canada's federal system. Harmonizing regulations, as in the 2017 Canadian Free Trade Agreement, fosters trust by ensuring consistency, per Gelfand et al., 2006. Promoting economic cooperation, like shared infrastructure projects, unites provinces around common goals. Addressing regional priorities, such as Quebec's cultural protections or Alberta's resource needs, builds mutual respect. Ensuring fair resource allocation, like funding for smaller provinces, aligns with Canada's egalitarian ethos. Building predictable frameworks, supported by stable legal systems, enhances trust, as seen in trade talks. Canada's diverse regions, from Atlantic fisheries to western oil fields, require trust to balance interests. For students, understanding interprovincial negotiations is critical. Consider a trade negotiation between Ontario and Quebec. Addressing regional priorities and transparent frameworks ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's collaborative governance. Challenges include regional rivalries, but trust mitigates conflicts. As we transition, we'll explore trust building through mediation, examining its role in resolving complex disputes in Canada. Following interprovincial negotiations, let's explore trust building through mediation, a powerful tool in Canada's negotiation landscape, per Thomson, 2020. Using neutral third parties, as in the 2016 Canada Post dispute, ensures impartiality, fostering trust among conflicting parties. Facilitating open dialogue, like transparent budget discussions, addresses concerns and builds understanding. Addressing underlying concerns, such as worker job security or regional funding needs, creates a collaborative environment. Promoting mutual concessions, like benefit improvements for scheduling flexibility, ensures balanced agreements. Ensuring equitable outcomes aligns with Canada's fairness ethos, critical in multicultural settings with 22% visible minorities. For students, mediation skills are essential. Consider a labor dispute in Manitoba's public sector. Neutral mediation and open dialogue ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's collaborative culture. Challenges include entrenched positions, but empathetic facilitation overcomes barriers. As we move forward, we'll examine trust in environmental negotiations, exploring how these strategies ensure sustainable outcomes in Canada's diverse landscape. Building on mediation, let's explore trust in environmental negotiations, critical in Canada's commitment to sustainability, per Gelfand et al., 2006. Aligning on sustainability goals, as in the Great Lakes pollution dispute, unites stakeholders around shared priorities like clean water. Engaging diverse stakeholders, including Indigenous communities and industries, ensures inclusive solutions, as seen in British Columbia's conservation talks. Using transparent data sharing, like scientific reports, builds trust by ensuring credibility. Balancing economic and ecological needs, such as offsetting conservation with job creation, fosters collaboration. Fostering long-term stewardship, like ongoing monitoring agreements, ensures sustainable outcomes. Canada's environmental ethos, supported by the Environmental Protection Act, demands trust to balance diverse interests. For students, mastering environmental negotiations is key. Consider a negotiation in Alberta's forestry sector. Transparent data and stakeholder engagement ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's sustainability commitment. Challenges include economic pressures, but trust mitigates conflicts. As we transition, we'll explore trust in international negotiations, examining Canada's global role. Following environmental negotiations, let's examine trust in international negotiations, where Canada's global role is prominent, per Thompson, 2020. Building mutual economic benefits, as in the 2020 Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, fosters trust by ensuring shared prosperity. Respecting cultural differences, like negotiating with Asian partners valuing indirect communication, enhances collaboration. Ensuring transparent trade terms, such as clear tariff agreements, builds confidence, as seen in the 2016 CETA. Fostering long-term partnerships, like ongoing trade dialogues, ensures stability in Canada's export-driven economy. Aligning with global standards, such as environmental protocols, reinforces Canada's reputation as a fair negotiator. With 20% foreign-born residents, Canada's multicultural ethos informs its global approach. For students, mastering international negotiations is critical. Consider a trade deal with the EU. Transparency and cultural respect ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's global leadership. Challenges include geopolitical tensions, but trust mitigates risks. As we move forward, we'll explore overcoming trust barriers, examining strategies to address challenges in Canada's negotiations. Continuing our exploration, let's examine strategies for overcoming trust barriers in Canadian negotiations, critical in a diverse society, per Gelfand et al., 2006. Addressing historical mistrust, especially in Indigenous negotiations, requires acknowledging past injustices, as in land claim talks. Mitigating cultural misunderstandings, like differing communication styles in multicultural business deals, fosters collaboration. Using transparent communication, such as open data sharing in environmental talks, builds credibility. Leveraging neutral facilitators, as in labor disputes, ensures impartiality, fostering trust. Building incremental trust through small agreements, like phased resource contracts, creates momentum. Canada's multicultural landscape, with significant Indigenous and immigrant populations, demands these strategies to bridge divides. For students, overcoming trust barriers is essential. Consider a negotiation in Quebec involving French and Indigenous stakeholders. Transparent communication and neutral facilitation ensure equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's inclusivity. Challenges include entrenched mistrust, but incremental steps ensure progress. As we transition, we'll review our references, providing resources for mastering trust building in Canada. To conclude, let's review the references informing our exploration of trust and relationship building in Canadian negotiations. Benoit, 2015, in Accounts, Excuses, Apologies provides insights into image repair, relevant for labor and environmental negotiations. Gelfand et al., 2006, in Negotiating Relationally explore the relational self, critical for identification-based trust in Indigenous contexts. Schlenker and Darby, 1981, in the use of apologies highlight effective strategies, like empathy, in rebuilding trust, as in the Canada Post case. Thompson, 2020, in The Mind and Heart of the Negotiator offers a framework for cognitive and effective trust building, applicable to Canada's ethos. For students, these sources provide a foundation for navigating Canada's negotiation landscape. Explore them to foster trust in interprovincial, Indigenous, and business settings. Consider a Toronto Tech negotiation. Combining cognitive and effective strategies ensures equitable outcomes, reflecting Canada's inclusivity. This lecture equips you with tools for sustainable agreements in Canada's multicultural context. Thank you for your attention, and apply these insights in your studies and careers.